Hello and welcome back to Raging Loop. In the last episode, we've made it into the town, and we've actually been. Accepted is maybe too strong of a word, but we have managed to stay here without getting thrown out immediately and without dying by riding our motorcycle away from town and then crashing. And then we were invited to come have lunch at the cafeteria, eatery, the place where the food is served, by sort of the head of one of the 4 families that are running this town. The sky was clear. The eatery was split into several buildings around the village. From what Higuchi had told me, Fujiyoshi had a population of about 1,000 people. It was pretty small for an autonomous area, but it was still enough to make eating in one building impossible. We went into one of them. It was crowded, but upon seeing us, the villagers stepped aside as if this was all planned. Apparently, everyone here did what they could to accommodate Higuchi. Also, everyone was staring at me like I was an alien or something, but it felt like Higuchi's presence discouraged them from staring too long. That attitude aside, everyone here looked pretty normal. Your usual Japanese people. The lethargy from before was nowhere to be seen. Maybe they just looked lethargic because it was early morning. Most looked like they were farmers, but I could also see some students in uniforms bearing the same design as the ones worn by the students in Yasumizu. The building itself was an aged wooden structure, but it was a whole lot bigger than the one in Yasumizu, and it looked way sturdier too. The interior wasn't too pretty, but it was spacious. You grabbed the tray right after walking in, then got tea and rice bowls or whatever from the ladies in aprons. It felt like a high school cafeteria, but you couldn't choose what you wanted. You could refuse what you didn't want to. "Oh, I'll look after him, don't worry." He spoke to the elderly women one after another and made them stop staring at me with suspicion. Then we took our trays and, without paying anything, apparently they had something like union dues for that, how effective, walked away. Parting the crowd, we searched for a place to sit down. "It's a bit cramped in here, but please do eat." I really appreciated getting to eat a normal meal. Lots of rice, miso soup, the one with vegetables and boiled beans. I thought it was vegetarian at first, but then felt something meaty inside. "It's shishi. Not used to it. It doesn't taste that strange, does it?" "Shishi, like inoshishi, boar?" "Not specifically. In here, deer, boar, all the wild meat is called shishi." "Oh, yeah, I heard that she once used to be the Japanese reading for meat before it became Niku." "I'm surprised you know that. The people of this area have been hunting for a long time, and even now, the hunters share what they catch, like they did with this." I hadn't thought I'd ever eat wild game in some communal eatery. Lucky me. Though the taste was kinda bland overall. I could detect some soy sauce on the vegetables, while the boiled beans were kind of sweet. The soup stock too made me think they used a minimal amount of flavoring. The miso soup didn't really seem like miso soup. It was more like a stew, probably because shishi was the only thing they used for the stock. I tasted more of it and realized that the overboiled meat still had a sort of beastly texture and smell about it. I couldn't call it good, but it was a unique local meal not everyone had the chance to eat. I was grateful for the experience. The eatery was still crowded as the people came and went, but Higuchi didn't seem bothered as we talked. I kept up with him during the conversation, repeating the same lies I told to the officer and making sure to look as much a poor, unfortunate soul as I could. He smiled all the way through, even as he interjected now and again. I felt like he was at least 100 times craftier than the officer, and I wondered if it was my inner contrarian speaking. After that, Higuchi and I returned to the officer's post, but... "What would you say to Fusashi moving to Fujiyoshi?" It was what I'd wanted to hear, but I couldn't let it show on my face. While the officer was against it, he didn't intend to argue too strongly. He and Higuchi discussed some things, but it seemed like Higuchi already knew how he'd treat me, and it didn't look like the officer's take mattered to him. After a few exchanges, the officer caved, and it was my turn to speak. "You're okay with this too, aren't you, Fusaishi?" Now, that was a smile I couldn't say no to, even if I wanted to. Well, it really did seem like the heads of Kami Fujiyoshi were a twisted bunch. "Yes, this opportunity is a godsend for me. You can settle in right away, but it's going to be a place a short distance from here." Was he serious? I don't mind. What kind of place is it? "I'll tell you more in a moment. Oh, that reminds me. We had some people already headed there." "Those two, huh?" "We'll ask them to take you there." There was no mistaking it. He smiled like he was harmless while forcing me into the settlement for the ostracized. "So, do I have to sign anything?" "We can take care of that later. I know someone in Tokyo. He can act as a proxy for that. Anyway, we must start with your place of residence. You'd be a bother if you stayed in the officer's post after all. I'll talk to the ones going there. Don't worry, they're from the city too. Oh, I'll have to tell the locals about you too. I'll be quite busy, but I'm sure I can get it all done by lunch. Anyway, goodbye for now." He one-sidedly ended the conversation and left the post. Nice guy. On the surface, anyway. Yeah. The officer understood the situation and didn't like it, but couldn't go against one of the heads. This was probably why Chiyomi said we couldn't trust the police. In Fujiyoshi, even government institutions were only a secondary authority. Anyway, what could I make of this? I did actually expect to be sent to Yasumizu. The people here had no interest in harboring outsiders. We weren't welcome. Or maybe they wanted to avoid the initial trouble caused by my immigration by making me live with the ostracized until I got used to the village. Whatever the case, this wasn't something I had a say in, which made it seem really bad. That was probably why the officer was so against it. I could understand that. Higuchi, on the other hand, seemed a bit heavy-handed with all this. I could understand him wanting to set me up with a place quickly. But as someone who knew about the feast, I couldn't help but be suspicious of the timing. The mists would come this evening, and he wanted to give Yasumizu a new inhabitant until then. Did Higuchi, ahead of Kami Fujiyoshi, understand what that meant? Have you ever read Kyuko Hosei's articles? Sorry. I went through a highly familiar exchange and finished my introduction to Hisako Mamiya a second time. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Hello. He was as hard to deal with as always. Higuchi worked fast, thorough too. He'd gotten back to me before noon, and before I knew it, I was greeting the ones who'd led me to my place. Just as I'd expected, they were the journalists. Higuchi said that he already contacted the people in Yasumizu. What about you? Are you ready? Yes, I'm more worried about you, in fact. Oh, we're alright. If we can get there at noon, we won't have to stay hungry for long. I see. So we intended to come later for their convenience? Yes, he said we should avoid coming when the people there are eating. Honestly, I wanted to cover their eating environment, so this is a bit of a stroke of luck. Oh, so this probably also had something to do with the people of Fujiyoshi not wanting to show their daily lives to outsiders. They could have just refused them completely, though. Did the journalists have connections that made them impossible to refuse? Or did they want to show what a developed settlement it was? Or maybe they had no intention of letting them go? Unlikely. If they killed anyone from Yasumizu or some nobody like me, they could easily conceal it due to how isolated the location was. But the two journalists had come here to make an article. If something were to happen to them here, it would be certain to draw unwanted attention to the village. On the other hand, if Kami Fujiyoshi's people knew that the feast was near, they probably wouldn't have allowed them here. I think we should head over now. What do you think, Kashimoto? Fine. Oh, he was slow, but he actually communicated with someone. That was rare. So, Sorry for the bother, and thank you for having me. No worries. Wait, was that? No, that was him, actually. No worries. That was the first exchange I shared with him. In this life, anyway. Of course. Now get in. The van started slowly traveling down the thin paved road between the farms. Come to think of it, May was rice planting season. The field had water all over it and didn't display a single weed. It was full of people planting rice seedlings by hand. They're not using machines. Looks like it. The people here don't seem to like modern technology. Combines and tractors aren't that new, if you ask me. I'm impressed they're doing such a good job by hand. I'm not sure they are. That's why the big families here are trying to get heavy machinery for the job. I see. Like Higuchi? I heard that the Miguruma were in charge of farming developments. I see. So they have money, huh? It seems so. Not quite sure how that works. Huh? Something has to work here? Well, how do I put this? What I mean to say is the big families are strangely rich for a mountain village with an aging populace where the young go work outside. Really? Yes, the Miguruma house was really big. We even had a large foreign car. Yeah, even if it was something that could easily be explained, it was still something to keep in mind. You. Yes? The strange nickname Hashimoto used surprised me, but Mamiya herself didn't seem bothered. You shouldn't make too many assumptions. But... The journalist within you is curious. It's nothing that big. I think you should just leave it at that. Is that your famous photographer intuition talking? Who knows? Well, alright. This isn't my specialty anyway. Anyway, forget what I said. Yes. Nope. No, wait, I heard you're moving here. That's how it turned out. Have you heard about the place you're going to? I didn't, but I can imagine what it's like. My words made her give me a strange look. As in? It probably isn't a good place to live in, it being separate from the main settlement and all. Why do you think that? Few people looked comfortable about how I'd be treated. While Higuchi looked less a nice guy and more like someone who could easily shrug off any guilt his actions would cause him. I see. Don't mind me though, I'm satisfied with where I'm going. Maybe I shouldn't say anything, but it's a really isolated place. I don't know if loving the countryside is enough to bear it. Don't worry, compared to dying, any place is heaven. Wait, that must sound strange. What an awkward laugh. Apparently they'd been told I'd almost committed suicide. I'm curious though, what kind of place is it? It's... special. She tried choosing her words carefully, but that made it sound worse than just a place for the ostracized. Hashimoto seemed to be warning her, but she continued talking anyway. I still don't know much, but it's full of people who were unfairly forced to live there. Both the place and the people living there aren't regarded highly here in Kami Fujiyoshi. Think before you go leaking information. I pick and choose who I'm saying this to. This is something a person who is moving there should know. It's only fair. There's something you should say before that, though. Right. Sorry. Fusashi, please keep this off the record. Sure. I won't say a word to the people there. With that in mind, are you sure? You can still go back with us if you change your mind after seeing it. You wouldn't mind, would you, Hashimoto? I'll think about it, if that's what he wants. Fusashi, do you want to leave with us? These two had an interesting relationship. Mamiya did all the talking, but Hashimoto seemed to outrank her. Hell, though he didn't speak much, everything he said was really well constructed. Made sense, so to speak. While Mamiya often became overly excited, Hashimoto was strangely stable, not just in terms of appearance. Wait, this was no time to scrutinize my traveling companions. No, I don't feel like going back to the city anymore. Thank you for the consideration, though. But, Mamiya, you're probably saying this as a fellow city dweller, but you realize I'm a pretty shady character myself, right? I'm just grateful for your help. That's more than enough. I see. Then I won't say anything more.
Haruaki Zaishi, was it?
Yes?
You really don't look like a guy at the end of his rope.
I get that a lot. Must be my carefree attitude.
I see.
I'm sorry. You know, one of my classmates in middle school committed suicide. He was always so carefree that we couldn't believe he'd done something like that.
Yes, that's the way it is sometimes.
I might have said too much. Recalling the scene at the officer's post, I tried to get back into the character of the poor suicidal man. The van slowly ambled onward. We approached a slightly more open space. It seemed to be the center of the village, and it looked like there were small shops there. But as we went on, it started to become even more desolate, and you could see more and more trees growing between the buildings. If that was where Kami Fujiyoshi ended, it was only about 3 kilometers across. If it was about 10 square kilometers in size, it had 100 people for every one of them. The stones I'd seen back in Yasumizu were nowhere in sight. Apparently, they really were Yasumizu exclusive. I could see a larger building nearby, and Mamiya told me it was the branch school from some nearby town. All students in Fujiyoshi must get their education there before moving on to help in the fields. The smarter ones left to work outside the village upon graduating high school. Those who went from here to college were rare, meaning that, at least relative to other locals, Chiemi was a prodigy. The students from Yasumizu should have been in school this time of day. Once we passed the last residence, we entered an area mostly untouched by human hand. The road led us into the overgrown mountains. There were large stones on each side of the road. Impressive, huh? They're like tories.
Tories?
Yes, trees inhabited by the birds serving the gods, or a gateway through a sacred boundary. Fujiyoshi worships the mountain, apparently. Oh, Great Lord Shinai. You know about it?
Crap.
Higuchi told me a few things. Anyway, you don't really hear that this mountain is special outside this village, do you? I've never even heard of the god Shinai. Going by the kanji, it sounds like it's a monkey god of some sort, but that one is only used in calendars and directions.
Weren't your articles about food?
Oh, sorry. I used to write about the occult. We quickly switched topics because it wasn't keeping food on the table. She looked like your typical neat and fashionable career woman, so this was really unexpected.
Really?
Sounds interesting, though. In this day and age, anyone who wants to read that kind of stuff just uses the internet. Everything in magazines is a lie, and all the real occult info is on the net. That's the general opinion of people into the occult these days. The piece of the pie that's still around was taken by the leading writers. We newbies didn't have a chance.
Now that you mentioned it, I hadn't seen as many magazines on the occult and the supernatural these days. No idea if that was a good thing, though.
The car passed a large boulder.
The road is about to get bumpy. Be careful.
Ah, alright. The moment he said that, the car jumped, scaring the crap out of me. If those stones were the mountain's boundary, we were now on Great Lord Shinai's turf. Beyond it, we'd find Yasumizu and Saranaga. The entrance to Yomi was beyond the sacred ground. This religion just kept getting weirder and weirder. Eventually, the pavement ended and we were on a gravel road. The grove of trees became a dark forest. It was cloudy, so there wasn't much light to begin with, which only made this place extra creepy. I composed myself. After all, the real creepiness was at the end of this road. We weren't saying a word anymore, and I thought about mundane stuff like the convenience of cars. We went down on the side of the mountain for about 20 minutes and eventually made it through God's narrow road. Beyond the dense forest, there was a relatively open space. We'd arrived at the entrance I'd passed when Haru escaped the settlement, and I searched for her. They were the same 2 large stones, and they did a great job telling me that this was some sort of boundary. We're close. I felt like I heard a hint of nervousness in her tone. Were we about to enter a strange realm? Or were we already there? There was no point thinking about it now. We just passed the gates and... She was... I stared, careful not to lose sight of her. Our eyes met. A mysterious red stare, white hair trailing behind her. She looked at the van as we passed. And she fell. Ah, she hit the stone. She hit her head on the stone and is now writhing in pain. Hey, please, stop the van. What? Sudden as it was, Hashimoto stopped the van. I jumped out and ran to her. Are you alright? She was still writhing on the ground with her hands on her head. There was no trace of the divinity and mystery from last time or from just a moment ago. It hurts. I can tell. Who are you? Just a passerby. Who am I? Hold on. I merely wanted to say that. Oh, so you feel up to joking around at least, huh? The pain made me lose my composure for a moment. The girl, or rather woman, since she was older than me, became red as a tomato right before my eyes. Rikako Uematsu. Was she an albino? Her skin and hair were pale, while her eyes were blood red. Her unusual appearance and manner of speech were exactly as I remembered. But man, where did this playfulness come from? Well, I hadn't spoken to her much last time, so maybe I didn't know her as well as I thought I did. Are you okay? Be honest. My late mother said that pain is proof you are well. Hey, that depends on the situation. Excuse me. Slightly hesitant, I reached out for her head, gently touched it and examined the damage. Ow. Oh, you're bleeding a bit. That's gonna leave a bump. You should take it easy for a while. Are you a doctor? Nope. This sort of thing is common knowledge. From the look of the wound, it isn't that bad, is it? Are you okay? Yes, but having my hair touched like that makes me feel a bit odd. I rather like the feeling, but I am uncertain how I should respond. Was the skin on her head sensitive or something? Physical intimacy with the first villager you meet. Not bad, Fuzashi. What are you saying? Jesus Christ. A brown-haired man is trying to take Uematsu-sama. Out of nowhere came the old lady. No, listen up. I mean, lady, Uematsu, tears slipped and hit her head, so I just... What horrible things did this hoodlum do to you, Uematsu? How awful. She wasn't listening at all. Feeling a bit stupid for worrying so much about her, I explained what happened and cleared up the misunderstanding. My apologies for the trouble. The ones to blame are the ones who misunderstood. Sorry. Now, Uematsu-sama, you should come and rest at home. No need to worry about me, Yamawaki. Nosatsu-sama is in Yasumizu right now. I'll call him. We can take you. Yes, please do. Now this was unusual. She hated outsiders, but she couldn't say no to Hashimoto's presence. Uematsu, was it? Are you sure you don't have to go to the hospital? We have a doctor here. Really? That's good then. We'll give you a hand. Wanna get on? Apologies for the trouble. Sorry, Fuzashi, you're stuck with the back. It was full of equipment though. I can walk. Don't. I'd been talking nonchalantly, but her response was a stern one. Well, it was true I could have caused some serious trouble if I arrived completely alone. I knew this from my experience arriving via Saranaga. Also, I wasn't supposed to be familiar with the area. I had to avoid looking suspicious. My apologies. It's fine. Don't worry about it. No, I mean, I'm Rikako Uematsu. Rikako as in plum flower, and uematsu as in spin and end.
Oh, right, we haven't properly introduced ourselves. Haruaki Fusashi, Fusa from kitchen and Ishi from stone tools, and Haruaki from the Japanese for Neo-Confucianism.
Haruaki Fusashi.
I felt like she didn't get it at all. Anyway, thanks to that, I became an inhabitant of the backseat and a fellow passenger alongside Rikako Uematsu. For a brief moment, anyway, we didn't speak much. The only noteworthy thing was the strange smell of dried aromatic wood she'd brought along. Besides that, I was just struggling to keep my seat as we jostled down the bumpy road. Leaving a trail on the unpaved road, we arrived and drove through Yasumizu. We passed the front of the Nosato mansion, then the construction site, Tae-san's house, probably, until finally we arrived at the plaza. By the time we got there, Uematsu seemed to be in perfect health and apologized profusely for the trouble she'd caused, though it would be best if she took care of the wound on her head. Mamiya and I went alongside her and took her to the house she was living in. It was the same place where she'd lost her mind and the rest of us had barricaded her in.
Now then, I shall wait for Nosato, just in case. Take care. Yes, Fusashi, I will surely make it up to you.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Ah.
Oh, I'd completely forgotten about Uematsu's extra.
Oh, who's this girl? You did not see her yesterday. She wandered into Yasumizu 2 days ago. Oh, from Kami Fujiyoshi. I can drive her back if you want. No, she...
Ah, why not ask someone else? Rikako needs to rest.
Oh, you have a point. Then we'll be leaving now. What about this girl? Meiko. Ah.
Uematsu called to Meiko and brought her inside. A stronger smell began wafting from the building. Maybe they were burning incense.
She's cute, isn't she?
Yeah?
Her attire combined with her appearance made her look just mystifying.
Attire?
You didn't notice? While it's in the style of a Shinto shrine maiden uniform, the dark coloration is clearly Buddhism influenced. It's clearly religious garb. I never expected a place so remote to have its own religion. How exciting. It's good to be enthusiastic about your work, but there are limits to how far you should pry, don't you think?
Man, everyone just seemed to appear out of nowhere this time.
Oh, Nosato, I'm sorry. Are you here to treat Uematsu?
Mamiya gave a confident, journalistic smile and spoke to Kiyanosuke Nosato.
Yes, if you're aware of that, then please clear the way. And who is this man? Oh, he's Haruaki Fusashi. Higuchi sent him to live here.
Huh? Hello, I hope we get along.
You're not from Fujiyoshi, are you?
No, I'm not. Things happened. I left Tokyo and ended up here.
What's Higuchi thinking? You have my sympathy, though. Anyway, I'm off. I'm coming in, Rikako.
Sympathy, huh? As condescending as always. After parting ways with him, we returned to the plaza. Hashimoto was taking photos of a small flower nearby. I could imagine that someone had told him not to take photos of the houses. We were the only ones here, and I couldn't hear anything but the wind. It was strangely quiet.
Like always, this place is...
She fell silent before finishing her derisive comment? Wise move. Wouldn't be good to finish that comment by comparing the place to a ghost town.
Let's go then. You're going to the dining hall, right?
Yes. Despite having next to nothing to do with me, Mamiya was helping me out a lot. Then again, she was heading there too.
Oh, I've been waiting for you. You're Fuzashi, yes? And hello to you too, Jose Hashimoto.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
It took a lot to keep myself from saying hello, hello, hello. Higuchi sent me here. Pleasure to meet you. Shoji Higuchi had pushed me into working at the dining hall here. Not the watering hole, but dining hall. He'd strongly emphasized that it wasn't under his control. That was why it had been decided I'd meet Kaori. She had an oval, composed, slightly haggard face, and I couldn't see a hint of the demon from before. Apparently, if it was for their children, some parents could become both demons and angels. I kind of felt like that applied to the entire history of mankind. For better or for worse.
My, you're well behaved for someone so young.
Oh no, I'm just a failure.
Oh, come on now. But are you sure you want to? You know?
It's fine. Many people say otherwise, but this is a nice place.
It is. But I don't know if you've been told, but this dining hall is more like a ration distribution house. This is hard for me to say, but you won't be paid. The most we can offer is meals.
I don't mind. If I can live a simple life, I don't need money.
My.
What are you? What are you? An old fart? Suddenly, Yoshitsugu Oribe walked through the door, displaying the same recklessness that had probably gotten him killed last time.
Yoshitsugu, why are you not in school?
Shut it, I said I ain't going. Hey, you fucking zombie. Heard you came here because you couldn't die. That's so lame.
Yoshitsugu, how dare you?
Oh, word spread fast around here. It called and told Kaori about it, then she told it to several other people, and it probably leaked. Yeah, I'm so lame. The hell? You okay upstairs? Can't say I am. I'm an idiot. Hey, hag, don't hire this guy. He'll mess up the place.
I don't want to hear that from someone who doesn't go to school or help around.
Shut up. Hey, you brown-haired dumbass. You seriously came here to die? Or is that an act or something? I twitched. As if... Hey, hag, guy's weird as hell.
My name isn't Hag. I know I have nothing to do with this, but you should keep your choking around to a minimum.
Sorry, I just felt like we'd be living together for a long while, so I ought to be as friendly as possible. Yoshitsugu, was it? Wanna make a bet? Huh? What kind of bet, you coward? I looked into my large bag and took something out. Specifically, a new pocket knife. Used this to cut off my pinky. Everyone instantly fell silent. I ignored them and continued. Come on, I'll put my hand down, and I'll put the knife right there. Hell'd you say? I'm saying I'll let you shorten my finger, as a sign of our friendship. I'm saying that's insane. Hell, that's something you do yourself. You're making me do this because you can't do this yourself, huh? You really are a coward, huh? I can do it myself, but this is a bet and a test of courage. If you're gonna call me a coward, you gotta show you're not one yourself, right? Swing the knife down and you win. And if I don't back out, I win. That means that if you cut off my finger, we both win. Then we'd be friends with no hassle involved. What do you think, Yoshitsugu? I smiled and pointed at the knife on the table with my finger. The hell are you talking about? You nuts? That's pretty much all you're saying now, but yeah, I really am nuts. Or what? You prefer normal people? You, who looks like that and gives no respect to his mother? I prefer weird people, you see. Show me how insane you can get. Man, this was just too much fun. Yoshitsugu looked right about ready to shit his pants. But it was time to back off. Gotcha. What a shame, huh, Yoshitsugu? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do something that would hurt that much. Well, even if we can't get along now, we'll be friends eventually. You actually think that helps? Jokes aside, he was actually pretty sharp. He and his brother were nothing alike, but it wouldn't have been surprising if he also had a talent for seeing through people. He had Higuchi blood in his veins, after all. Perhaps it was genetic. He left without saying another word. Kaori didn't even tell him to go to school. I'm sorry. That was weird, wasn't it? No. My stupid son had it coming. That shocked me a bit, though. You have nerve, don't you? No, I don't. I'm the one who called it off, so I lost. He probably would have done it if I'd kept pushing him. After all, he was the type who'd pick a fight with something inhuman and die. He probably didn't want to draw blood in front of his mother. I think he's a good kid at heart. My words almost made Kaori smile, but... Oh, but I do feel embarrassed. He grew too big for me to handle, and now all I can do is scold him. She decided to keep up the act of the strict mother. Puberty and rebellion sure seemed complicated. Saishi, come here for a sec. I did just that. Are you actually one of those kinds of people? They send someone after you? Would it be over if they caught you? Huh? No, I suggested the finger thing for no real reason. Trust me, I won't trouble the people here. I hope so. She was actually suspicious. I had to act out a better normal person. This wasn't the time to mess around. Anyway, I'm here to help with anything. Use me however you like. Oh, very well. This was decided by those up there anyway. But before that, I wonder where you'll be staying. Oh, I kinda expected them to be already decided on that. I'm going to go introduce myself to everyone. Who should I ask about that? The one in charge of the land is Yamawaki. The old lady from before. She lives in one of the houses we passed. Oh, yeah. When Takumi gave me the key to my dorm room, he told me he got it from the old lady. Was she like the landlord of Yasumizu? Maybe she's not too far, like visiting Uematsu or something. Oh, but something happened. She fell and hit her head, and I left that talk to Mamiya and opened the door so I could see the plaza. By the time I realized that someone else was on the other side, it was fully open. Seeing the person's face almost made me say her name in surprise. Chiemi Serizawa. I couldn't save her. I couldn't fulfill my promise. But we'd met again, thanks to the strange looping phenomenon. Whether it was something to feel thankful about was another matter. Nice to meet you. I kept my surge of emotions under control and gave an amicable smile. But, just as she made that simple sound, a lone tear ran down her cheek. Oh, do I have something in my eye? Her voice was calm, but the first tear made way for many more, and they were soon streaming from both eyes. What? Kaori, do you have a hand towel? Her reaction didn't seem to be anything more than confusion at her body going out of control. Oh my, what's wrong? Here you go. I don't know. Do you have tear gas here or something? Perhaps the shishinari I'm making for the journalist is rotten. Hey, I didn't mean that. What is it then? Menopause? Come now, you're too young for that. Sorry for acting weird. She wiped her tears. Her eyes didn't look good, but her voice was cheerful and carefree, just like in my memory. You're the person who suddenly ended up living here, right, mister? That was a word you used on strangers. Why had she cried? Yes, am I that scary? No. You look perfectly fine. It's just, well, a mysterious event. My name is Chiemi Serizawa. I'm a student back home for the time being. I know I made a poor first impression, but I hope we can get along. She bowed to me. She really didn't know who I was. Due to the looping phenomenon, dying had sent me back to the point when I was wandering around on my bike. It was something that actually happened, and I had to accept it, but it was also completely unreasonable. I didn't have any good way to reasonably explain it. Was the looping centered around me? Was I really the only one who had memories of last time? It wouldn't be strange for there to be someone else. My memories were fragmented right now, and I often remembered things only when it counted. It could be that the others had forgotten almost everything, but still had certain fragments of their memories and feelings. I had to stop thinking about this. I couldn't have asked her to console me about the tragic end that hadn't even happened yet. I'd have been barking up the wrong tree. If everything worked out, I hoped I could get close to her again. Love that depended on death, despair, and the suspension bridge effect was better off staying in the realm of fiction, where it belonged. We exchanged a few words, but I didn't have much time. I had to focus on getting a place to stay. Anyway, just like I said, I first went to Uematsu's house. Obviously, it didn't seem like there were many people inside. I hesitated for a moment, but ended up knocking. Who is it? That was Meiko's voice. Could she even understand me? I'm Fusashi from before. Fusashi from before? No, I'm Haruaki Fusashi. Is the old lady there? No. Oh, so I was off the mark. Alright, see you then. Yeah. What? Fusayuki? Wrong. Please wait a moment. Oh, Uematsu. You told me to wait, so I did. Soon enough, the door opened up. I apologize for the wait. How may I help you? I'm looking for Yamawaki. From how she acted, I thought she came to visit you. I haven't seen her yet. Looks like it. I'll be going then. Oh, what did you need her for? Well, I'm gonna live here now, but I still don't have a place. You will live here? Yes, and I need to talk about that. What did she mean by this? But you cannot be without a place to stay. Yeah. Prepare for the feast when the evening mists arrive. That made me flinch. Did it show on my face? The people of Fujiyoshi believe that the mist is an ill omen. If it comes, we must clean our bodies, shut ourselves in, and go to sleep early. Cleanse, shelter, dream. That's an interesting tradition. That was what I would have thought if I didn't know about the tragedy. This might be a bit presumptuous, but I do know of one empty house. Huh? She told Meiko to entertain herself and took a key from her house. Instead of telling me more about it, she insisted on going outside despite my polite protests. I had no choice but to follow after. We passed the plaza and went down the hill. She had tripped 2 times. It hurts. Looks like it. I fall and hurt my head on a regular, so I'm used to pain. You really shouldn't walk around grass like this in that attire. This is an Uematsu duty. It is? The spider are bedroom woman servants. That was a new term. Bedroom woman servants. Women who serve you in the bedroom? That sure sounded sexy. And the spider was one of the guardians of Great Lord Shinai. That reminded me, Chimiya told me that the Uematsu were the family of the spider. When the power of Yomi rises from Saranaga, it is said to bring madness first and foremost. That was why the Uematsu of old had the role of protecting the dreams of the villagers. Were they like night watchmen or something? It wouldn't have been weird for a police-like force to still retain power in this day and age. But you'd fall all the time at night, so you walk around during the day instead, huh? Oh. She alright? By the way, do all the heads of the village have roles like that? Yes, I'm surprised you noticed. I came here through Kami Fujiyoshi, and Higuchi, well, he looked pretty powerful. The Higuchi family are the monkey, protectors of the watering hole's flame. It was that term again, watering hole. They used fire when it wasn't allowed, huh? Yes, we are told they claim to run a watering hole. while in actuality we're teaching people to use fire.
And they used us to gain influence as the source of everyone's food. What about Nosato's family? They are one of the head families too, aren't they?
The Nosato are the crow, the Eve Eaters.
I have no idea what that means.
They inspect if a corpse belonged to a Yomibito or not.
They performed autopsies? That didn't seem very important.
They were actually the healers. They were the only ones who could use aconite, also known as wolfsbane.
Nosato is the family that made medicine. Wolfsbane, the plant. There's aconite in the food. Oh, yeah, that was true. Well, an autopsy was a medical procedure, and if they could use poisonous plants on top of it, they could have easily garnered lots of respect. I see. What was the last one?
The Miguruma.
Right, I hadn't met a single person linked to that one.
The snake are the tower lookouts. The Uematsu aren't the lookout family.
That doesn't give me enough.
Tower as in watchtower.
So they're in charge of the military here?
No. They used to build watchtowers and watch the stars. They made calendars, read the weather, and led the local farms. That role made them respected, and they eventually became Shinai-sama's priests.
I see. We had our TV weather ladies now, but back in the day astronomy and meteorology were linked to divination, leading many to consider them special powers that let them predict the future and bring good things in general. Farming was the building block of civilization. Having it was a matter of life and death, so it was only natural for those who offered guidance in that field to become leaders. Thank you for telling me. This place has a rich history, huh? I think I could grow attached to it.
I see. This is the first time I have heard such words spoken.
Really? It's pretty interesting, though.
I never explained this to someone born outside of Fujiyoshi.
Oh, right. She'd refused to go into detail last time. Infiltrating the village really was a good idea, huh?
Oh, look. We have gone all the way. Here it is.
That looks like a decent house. Yeah, we really did go all the way, huh? Sure takes a lot out of you.
No, we did not do anything strange.
Her speech was still odd, and what the hell was up with her imagination? She could send my verbal curveballs to another dimension. Anyway, there was a wooden house. It was much like the ones near the plaza, except a bit more aged. It looked relatively stable, though.
Most of Fujiyoshi is actually the private property of the Higuchi, the Nosato, and the Uematsu. Fujiyoshi used to be owned by the Miguruma alone, but now that extends to all the current heads serving the Miguruma.
That was new to me. So you're saying this place belongs to you, Ikako?
Oh.
What? Oh, sorry for being so forward with you.
No, I do not mind, but yes, this land is mine. A person lived here until recently.
So, has he passed away or something?
Yes, it was a peaceful death.
That sounded like a real blessing here in Yasumizu.
Does that bother you? It is clean inside.
I'd have been lying if I said I wasn't bothered, but I chose to take a look. She hadn't been kidding. The inside was shabby and the wood was aged, but the floor was clean and I couldn't see much dust. The tatami was new too, though that meant it had to be changed. But at least there wasn't some human-shaped mark on the floor. There was no furniture, but I could easily get a futon or something. What about the bath?
I do not think this place receives gas.
That's bad. What can I do if the mists come?
You wish to be able to cleanse? You merely have to fill that pail with well water and wipe yourself with it.
That's enough?
Yes. I hear it was rare to bathe in warm water in Fujiyoshi.
Oh, yeah. Because only the watering hole could use fire.
Yes.
That made sense. Anyway, I was now ready. Are you sure I can use this house?
Yes, that would make all the daily cleaning worth it.
Huh? You cleaned this place yourself? Yes, because taking in the corruption is one of the Uematsu's roles. Also, keeping myself occupied served as a good distraction.
Did something bad happen? She fell silent. Sorry, that was insensitive of me.
No, it was not that something happened. I was afraid of what could happen.
She looked at the mountain beyond the valley. No, it was the valley itself and the Saranaga Rapids at the bottom. Back to the heads. Do the Miguruma still predict the weather and stuff? Part of me thought I might be prying too deeply.
During spring and autumn festivals, they ask for abundant harvests, dance for them, and chant ritual prayers. I heard this was supposed to be based on what they did in the past. Thankfully, we've had no major droughts or famines.
Oh, so in a way they have a perfect track record.
Yamawaki knows this well. You might wish to ask her. She would be pleased to talk.
That seemed true. Oh, sorry for taking up so much of your time, Uematsu. Thank you so much. I'll make it up to you.
Oh, I also merely wanted to thank you for your help during my embarrassing accident.
Wasn't she basically blaming me here? Lots of things happened already, but I hope we keep getting along well. If you think I can help, don't be afraid to ask.
Musashi.
Oh, and yeah. Sama doesn't suit me. You can be more casual. You don't have to use such polite speech.
Oh.
Crap.
Musashi. I can't. Musashi-sama, I would like to ask of you the same. Please call me however you like.
Was I actually raising some flags here? Was the game this easy these days? Did she seriously fall in love over a bit of help after a head injury? Was this a soap opera or something? Well, not that I was complaining.
Then, Mikako-san?
Huh. No, this was something else. She was just especially vulnerable to men. As a family head, she was probably either revered from a distance or considered an enemy. Takumi did the latter. She'd probably never talk to someone who didn't care about those things. That actually made me feel kind of bad for her. Okay, then let's call each other Uematsu-san and Fuzashi-san. Let's become good friends.
Oh, friends.
Yes.
I love that.
In a part of the village with no one but us, we exchanged a deep bow. Uematsu then returned and I checked the house for any holes. It seemed fine on that front. No monsters could get inside. Anyway, I had my place. And with our place is where we end this episode. Thank you for watching. So far, everything seems to be going according to the plan, and we'll see whether that continues next time. Till then, bye bye.